Hi, this is Dr. Mark Sehl from the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart. And I'm here with Dr. Donald Mars. And some of you might have been prepared already that we're going to do a video together. I had some of the information out there in the world. This is it. This is April 1st, 2015. And Donald before reminded me that his cancer, he was diagnosed with cancer on this date 2 years ago. So I'll let him take it over so I don't make too many mistakes about this, even though this is not, as I've said before in videos, we're not here to be perfect, so it's good to make mistakes. And I appreciate everyone watching this video, and I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Donald Mars. And the title of this video is Up from the Mat, and Donald's an old friend of mine, an old colleague, very close to him for many years. So he's going to talk about being up from the mat and what that means. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Donald.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. It was only 2 years ago today, when I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer. Whew. Mark surprised me. After I told him, he told me he posted some of our pictures and some of my picture on his social website. And shortly after that, he began telling me that he was receiving messages not only for him, but for me. And people who I never met, and of course I didn't know, took the time out of their life to send messages, to me via Mark, expressing their prayers and their good wishes for my recovery. And it really is it was wonderful. It really was a wonderful experience to think about and to feel. But I am very fortunate. I have a very strong support network. I have a very loving and caring family. Once they learned what was going on, they really rallied around me. And it was profound. I have loving and caring friends, and once they learned, they too rallied around me and made their feelings very well known. And patients, I told my patients, because I was going to be taking off a lot of time, and that's something that I don't usually do. And they too made their feelings known. In addition to that, I had a wonderful medical team who I worked with. They were extraordinarily capable medically, and they were wonderfully supportive emotionally. And there were times when they literally were holding my hand. Being diagnosed with a killer terminal disease, to say that it stirs up feelings is to put it mildly. I was dealing with not only fear, but anxiety and rage, all kinds of feelings, very intense. And that I knew that the stress of dealing with all this was going to be working against me, against getting healthy. So I added a therapist to my team, an analyst. That's what therapists do when we get into emotional turmoil. We talk the talk and we walk the walk. And the combination really did work for me, because as I sit here today, I can tell you that I am cancer-free. When I was first diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, it felt like I was sucker punched. And the next thing I knew, it felt like I was looking up at the stars, at the lights. I was down on the mat. And while I'm up today, knowing that my opponent, who I conceive as a fighter, is now down on the mat, I also know that this fighter has a very high recovery rate, meaning has a very high rate of return, recidivism. So while I live my life today and really enjoy it in a very unique way, I also see myself in that neutral corner with the gloves on, waiting to see if this fight's going to resume. Because if it returns, we will again do battle. I will never sit on the stool and quit. I will not go quietly into the night. You'll have to knock me out, but I will not get out. That's the only way this is going to end. And I may never know, but right now I go through periodic testing. And yet while we fight, and while I've been knocked down, I mean, my feeling is that, from my experience, that everybody in life gets knocked down. It's the measure of us, of how we deal with the knockdowns. Some get up, some don't get up. Some get up and repeat what they do and hope that it'll come out differently, which it seldom does. And some get up and try to make their life better. And everybody pays a price for these knockdowns. Everybody pays a price. And the price is fairly universal and sometimes unique. Yes, I paid a medical price during the treatment. You suffer. There were some times I felt more dead than alive. Physically, it's very tough. Emotionally, I suffered. The greatest part of my suffering was seeing the people that I care about, seeing and hearing hearing the fear, the anxiety that they were facing, which I was causing. And that's not the way I like to have people in my life relate to me. They were frightened because what I was going through, I could die. And I paid another price, which is unique to me. My vision, which has always been an issue in my life and has brought me to the mat before, is now pretty much gone. And whether it's a combination of the stress and the chemo and the radiation or all of the above, we'll never know. All I know is that I'm alive, but I can't see. So that was my price. And it's a willing price that I pay. I'd rather be alive, blind, than dead. And there's also a notion that a lot of people have always had, that life's supposed to be, conflict-free. We're supposed to be able to just skate through life without being touched by anybody, by any glove. Never been knocked down, never be knocked down. Always live a very rich, rewarding life. It's an idealized life that is not real, that we all have some residue of, that somehow we wish we could have made life better for people that we care about. If only. But for the most part, it's not real. It's just not real. I don't know anybody in my life um, that went through life, that skated through life without all kinds of conflicts and been on the mat. I don't think I know anybody who lived that kind of a life. Back in 1890s, the late 1890s, a poet by the name of Edwin Arlington Robinson wrote a poem entitled Richard Cory. And in the late 1960s, Paul Simon wrote a song, same name, which he and Art Garfunkel recorded. Excuse me. And this song really encompasses this idealized fantasy that many people share. They sing that while they are poor, they hate their poverty, they hate the life they're living. They work in a factory owned by Richard Cory, they hate that as well. They see in the newspapers about Richard Cory. Richard Cory was, quote, born with a silver spoon in his mouth. You know, he was a banker's only son, which suggests he went to the best schools, has the best contacts. He has great political contacts. He goes to all kinds of charitable events. He's known at the opera. He even has a yacht where he has orgies. Like, more can anybody want out of life? And yet, when the song ends, it ends with, they read in the paper that he went home one night and put a bullet in his head, quoting Simon. One would think that if someone goes home and commits suicide, that their life was not as perfect as we thought it might be. They did not escape life without having conflicts. They didn't skate through life only with joy and satisfaction. And yet the song ends with Simon and Garfunkel singing that they still wish they could be Richard Cory. It's a remarkable, idealized life that we hold in our hearts. There's a great American philosopher by the name of Rocky Balboa, who we of course know is really Sylvester Stallone, who writes the scripts. And Stallone writes in one of his later movies, where Rocky's talking to his son, who's now a young man, no longer a little boy, that it's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And that's my message today too. We all get hit, and it's how we move forward. And we can move forward. We can get help and move forward. And I want to thank you all for sharing this time with me, and I want to thank Mark for giving me the opportunity to share this time with you too. Thank you.
You're welcome, Donald. Thank you so much for coming here on talking on the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart. And I'm very, it's a very heartfelt talk that you gave today about your life and experiences. I appreciate that. Very open and honest about the terrific fight that you managed so far to win, and I'm going to be making a book, and you're going to keep winning it. Whatever the bookmaker was in that movie, I don't know. I remember the movie though. Yeah, so put up the good fight. So I hope you can say hello to Donald. And the way you can say hello to Donald, and I think he would like to hear from you, wouldn't you, Donald?
Sure.
He said, mentioned before how he appreciated people writing. He was so surprised that people wrote in. So perhaps you can write in too. You can make a comment on the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart if you have a Gmail account or you want to get one. And I'll respond to the comments, and I'll also give those comments to Donald and pass them along, and he can comment directly to you or through me But his email is drdonaldmars@aol.com. So you can write to him there and or comment on the YouTube channel. So thank you for watching, and I often end by saying that if it wasn't for you and having this audience, the lovely audience that I have on YouTube channel for the Therapy for the Heart, I wouldn't be here. And you have been very responsive in thinking well of the videos that I've had so far on here. So I really appreciate that. You said they're down to earth, and I do believe they are. And I make a joke that this is not TED Talks, because I fumble around here and there, but it's not, in my mind, as I talked about in the videos, it's not about perfection. It's about getting up even though you're down and continuing to fight, and it's about wanting to achieve things in your life, but not about perfection. So I'm going to sign off for now, and anything I missed?
No, I think that's
I covered the
great.
bases?
Yes, well
All
covered.
right. Thank you so much for listening again. I appreciate all your attendance, and say hello on the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart. Okay, signing off. Bye-bye for now.